is doing it. Oh, is that working? Is that working better now? Let's see. So could you not see me before? And now you can see me. See, is that working? If you just type in and see whether or not, yes, thank you. Okay, so yeah, welcome again. Unfortunately, because it's new software that I've had to download, and my first attempt at going live on YouTube, I was not totally sure. Yeah, yes. I'm applying for a job as Santa, so I have a beard. Of course, Santa's multilingual, so it seemed to make sense. Thank you. Oh wow! So now people are actually starting to write. That's great. I was beginning to wonder what was going on. So could you hear me before, and it was just the image wasn't coming through? I'm guessing that was the issue. So yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions you have, and now that especially it's working, I'm in my office here in Skopje, and in my office room I have all my language books, and I think one of the videos I made most recently was all of the language books that are sort of over here, just above my head, which I have here all the time. Cool. Okay. Że jesteś na YouTubie, co u ciebie słychać? No, wszystko w porządku. Dziękuję. Dziękuję bardzo. No, bardzo dobrze. No, u ciebie? Wszystko w porządku, Richo? It's nice to speak Polish. I never really get to use it actively that much. There are some Polish people here, but not that many. And so I use it every now and again. In fact, it's kind of, I have been avoiding Polish and Czech over the last couple of weeks because of the Slovak challenge and going to Bratislava tomorrow, because I really want to make sure that I can speak as clearly as possible in Slovak without making it some sort of weird Czech Polish version of the language, which is difficult because there are so many words in common. It's crazy. So yes, I'm really pleased that this is working now. And yeah, so what I was saying is that with learning languages, I definitely my focus and shift. My focus on what I'm learning changes depending on what's going on. Whether I'm I've got some sort of trip or some business or something planned in a specific area or region or something like that, so that I can either refocus my attention to a language that I've studied previously, like Icelandic with the Polyglot Conference happening at the end of October, or start a new language like Indonesian, because I'm going to Indonesia next month. Well, actually, no, this month now. We're in June. So yeah. Buenas tardes, Richard. Soy Diego. Un placer escucharte sobre el apasionante mundo de los idiomas. Muchas gracias. Pues también me alegro. Es que para mí es un placer hablar de los idiomas, porque sí que me gustan mucho. Y así que si tenéis alguna pregunta para mí en español, en inglés, en cualquier idioma, pues encantado. Hola de Alemania, hola. Ahoy, Zuzka. I retracted. Oh dear. Were you trying not to confuse me with Czech and Slovak there? Or was that... Because ahoy is Czech and Slovak. The funny thing that I've learned about Slovak during my studies this month is that they have this ahojte, which I don't think I've ever seen in Czech, for like more than one person who's speaking to a room, which is quite a fun thing to have. But ahoj ze Slovenska. Dobre. Ty si z Slovenska? Ili býváš len vo Slovensku? Dobre, pre mňa teraz neviem, ako dobre hovorím po slovensky. Myslím, že po českého to bolo pre mňa ne ľahké naučiť sa po slovensky, ale si myslím, že rozumiel som dobre. Teraz aktivirovať môj moju slovenštinu je veľmi zaujímavé. A dúfam, že na Slovensku že budú mať možnosti hovoriť s ľuďmi v Bratislave i hovoriť dobre i mať i nejenom konversácie s nimi. Guten Abend. Ja, viele Grüße. Vielen Dank, das ist sehr nett von dir. Ja, ich freue mich auch, dass ich hier ja auch dabei sein kann. Ich meine, dass es eigentlich geklappt hat. Das habe ich eigentlich nicht so erwartet, aber es ist schön. Say something in Arabic. Okay. حبيبي يا قلبي. What do you want me to say in Arabic? أنا من بريطانيا. أنا طالب لغة عربية ولكن مثلا لغة عربية شوي trying to understand the conversation for at least 16 languages at basic level. First try and get better at each. I'm using Duolingo, I've memorized in tandem. Any other advice? Yeah, 19 out of 16 so far. It takes time, Hugo. I think also getting to a good level in each language, it's not the be all and end all for me. I think that you need to assess what you want the languages for and then decide what level you want to be at. So necessarily, taking on a language like Swahili just out of pure interest because you're going on a safari to Kenya or something like that might be good for the holiday. Do you need to continue past an A1, A2 level? Possibly not if you're returning to life in the north of Norway or wherever you live. And certainly that's how I tackle my languages. I'll learn them to whatever I need them for. I'm glad you like the Arabic. It's terrible, I know, but yeah, it's a language I've had a lot of false starts with, and I really enjoy it. So how do I practice deliberately improve spoken French, for example? I think that, David, I'd say seeking out opportunities to meet with people. For me, it's slightly easier because I live abroad. I don't live in my native United Kingdom, so I do find that if I hear a language, I'll go up and introduce myself, and that's kind of how I do it. But you can definitely seek out tandems, people who want to do language exchanges. If English is your first language, or even Spanish, it's a lot easier to do that because many people want to learn those languages. But there are definitely ways to do that, and I definitely encourage, use of sites like the ones above, Memorize, Duolingo, italki. There are quite a lot of sites where you can meet people and get to know people speaking other languages and practice with them. Hej från Sverige. Nej men hej, hur har det? Dobre, dziękuję. Zuzka, ja nie wiem jeszcze. Ja ešte myslím, že ja musím hovoriť, praktikovať s ľuďmi v Bratislave. To je pre mňa vtorý raz, že hovorím po slovensky. Hovoril som s Lidka, ktorá manažíruje Polyglot Gathering v Bratislave v tým roku. No a pretože miała moc pracy, moc roboty, to bolo ťažké hovoriť viac. si myslí, že no, pre mňa no musí ještě praktikovat tam. Ale no, to jde. stačí že by hovoril s lidmi jako turist. Jenny Gomes, greets from Brazil. Speak some Portuguese, please. Sim, posso falar português do Brasil agora. Então, eu quando fui para o Brasil para fazer as talheres de políglotas, eu queria falar português do Brasil, porque era o português de Portugal que eu aprendi na universidade. Então, para os brasileiros, eu acho que é mais difícil perceber ou entender o português de Portugal. E é por isso. Mas agora também é uma língua que eu gosto realmente muito de falar, mas não tenho muitas oportunidades para falar português aqui. Agora é bem difícil. Ok? Hej, kiedy ostatnio rozumiewałeś z Lukarem Pariello? Myślę, że no to było no chyba w Tesaloniki na konferencji polyglotów i no, a teraz będzie jeszcze i w Bratysławie ze mną. Gracias from Mexico, and basically I'm learning for a passion of learning languages because I'm getting ready for the travel the world. That's great, Hugo. Traveling's fantastic. I love it too. Do you know Hebrew or have plans to learn it? Okay. And do I think it's different for it's difficult for European? It's funny actually because I have studied some Hebrew, and I really like it. The way you structure it in a very basic sense feels quite European, strangely. It feels quite different to Arabic, even though the two languages are Semitic. So I think that learning it for European isn't completely crazy. So no, I think you can do it. If you're interested in learning it, go for it. Se ti piacciono i videogiochi ma non i gameplay, scrivo perché adoro sentirti parlare in italiano. Ho un problema con l'inglese, nonostante parlo abbastanza bene, faccio molta fatica di capirlo quando... Sì, questo è sempre difficile perché anche per me a volte con qualche lingua, imparare una lingua, parlare una lingua è una cosa, ma insomma usarla per guardare un film o qualcosa di genere sì è più difficile. Quindi sì, grazie e salute anche. Unfortunately, I don't speak Korean. I do recognize that's Korean, but I don't. I know a few random words in Korean, that's about it. Maintaining languages, I'd say practicing as much as possible, reading, watching videos, learning songs, anything that you like doing, I'd say, because that's the thing that keeps you motivated, what you like. Okay, thank you. Even without continuous practice, you're great at speaking Portuguese. Thank you very much. Muito obrigado. Muito obrigado. Ahoy, Richard. Half a question. I'd like to ask you if you bring up my own child. Okay, with language. Slovak mother with 4 languages. Obviously, I want a baby to benefit from that. Yeah, definitely. My own daughter speaks 5 languages. I speak to her in French at home. Usually, she studies mostly in English, but she has French as a first language classes, Macedonian as a first language classes, and then she does German and Spanish, which I've been doing with her since she was 18 months old. So totally possible. Just need to speak to them and play with them actively for about half an hour to an hour a day. An hour a day when they're very small, and you can reduce it a little bit when they get older because they start learning other things like reading, writing, maths, and other sorts of things as well. What about Turkish? Mükemmel be. Teşekkür ederim. Ben burada Makedonya'da Türkçe her gün konuşurum. Çünkü burada çok türde var ve bana göre Türkçe çok güzel bir dildir ve Makedonya'da 3. dildir ve merkezde her zaman sadece Türkçe konuşmam lazım. Ama ben düşünüyorum ki benim Türkçem çok iyi değil. Galiba B1, B2 hiç bilmiyorum şimdi. Ama B1 yaptım ve ya bundan sonra sadece konuşuyorum. Ama çok güzel bir dildir. Teşekkür ederim. Um, okay, so as a mother, I switch my child on the tongue. You can talk to the so so Zuzka, I think for speaking different languages, there was definitely a thing with speaking. People say about one parent, one language, and all that kind of thing. But my own experience growing up in the UK and being part Welsh, part English, is that I often had a lot of Welsh speakers speaking to their children in both languages, and they'd speak English and Welsh and alternate, and they were fine. And that kind of was why I decided to speak English and French to my daughter from birth. And then when she was older, I decided to just add in the play in German and Spanish because I couldn't decide which one to do, and I wanted to see which one she preferred, and she actually liked them both, so we carried on with them both. The trick is to not make it a chore, to make it fun. Um, you know, the deal I think you have to accept is we're not trying to make mini versions of ourselves or make a better version of ourselves through our children, and as long as we have that in mind and that they need to do other things, I think it's great. And they it can never be a disadvantage. I've met many people who spoke a foreign language to their children, and their children actually end up speaking it well or better. Um, Lucas Lima, hi there, Steve Kaufman here again. Steve Kaufman here again. Is that you, Steve Kaufman, or is that somebody pretending to be Steve Kaufman? I don't know. But he's going to be in Bratislava, which I'm very excited about. I've not met him in person yet, so I'm very much looking forward to that. What's my favourite Scandinavian language and why? Oh dear. I'd say that for the sound, I really love Icelandic just because of the way it sort of flows from the mouth. Um, but I do like them all. I'd have to say Icelandic would be my favourite if I'm being brutally honest. Um, Perfect Spanish accent. Thank you very much. Well, I really appreciate that. It's a nice comment. Richard and Diego again. Okay, dialects, Bayerisch, in Germany, speaking Hochdeutsch. Okay, so my first experience of German was actually Plattdeutsch, and well, I wouldn't say proper Plattdeutsch, I'd say Plattdeutsch accent, and some words like that and that used in German. And I sort of learnt that, and there was a definite sort of more Platt speaker who was around me a lot. And he would even say things like mit mich, which sounds really odd. And when Germans hear that, normally they cringe because it sounds just like a mistake. And he would say things like that, which really stuck out to me. And I'm used to quite a few different dialects in German. I've had friends from different regions of the country and also different types of German. So I spent quite a lot of time in Switzerland and heard quite a few different types of Schweizerdeutsch. Zürichdeutsch is probably the one that I'm most familiar with. But I've heard quite a few, and I love Swiss German dialects. They're fantastic. Um, Dime que tan fácil que te fue el español y tan difícil consideras que es. Pues el español para mí sí que es un idioma que aprendí en la universidad y también en la escuela. Y pues estudiaba en España como de madrilingüe, ¿no? Entonces tenía que tener un nivel de español bastante alto. Así que ahora es un idioma que hablo en casa con mi hija y quiero realmente que que aprenda bien el español porque creo que es un idioma súper importante en el mundo y por eso sí que es importante. Difícil no lo sé, es que dominar bien el idioma sí que es difícil, como cada idioma, ¿no? El vocabulario, tienes que aprender un montón de cosas para realmente hablar nivel súper alto. Pero bueno, para un extranjero, empezar a hablar español al inicio puede ser un poco difícil, pero realmente no es tan difícil como con inglés como madrileño, ¿no? Parece más fácil. Are there some ways to learn dialects and small languages when you don't have access to too many textbooks or the other materials? Kind of are. I think it's getting easier, Magdalena. I don't think it's still that easy, but it's getting easier. There are certainly things online, YouTube, people who make funny videos. In fact, just the other day, someone shared videos with me in there's a kind of joke videos in Sicilian with Peppa Pig, and but it's still in the dialect and it's kind of fun to watch. I don't know how easy it is to just pick them up, with the dialects are very, very different. Some dialects get more help than others with materials. It just depends what you want to learn. But there's certainly more out there than there was before, and certainly I know people who are studying now, and I'd never seen this in the past. My friend Maureen is learning Neapolitan dialect at the moment, and I never even heard of anyone trying to do that in the community online until recently. Здравствуйте, добрый день. Я говорю по-русски. Хорошо. Я тоже. Я был три раза в России. Я думаю, что говорить по-русски для меня очень важно. И это было тоже очень практически, потому что в России, в принципе, они не говорят очень много по-английски. И тоже как человек с македонским языком дома, как домашний язык, как сказать, я думаю, что изучаться русский или говорить по-русски, это не очень сложно. Я знаю, что когда я говорил в видео, Polyglot speaks 16 languages, я не говорил очень хорошо по-русски, тоже, может быть, это слышится как чуть-чуть лучше, но уровень русского языка для меня похожится, потому что я говорил тогда, но только просто потому, что я в видео, у меня не было очень много времени, я просто не хотел сказать очень много, это было просто краткий видео. Ну, хорошо. Okay. Harikas, thank you very much. Teşekkür ederim. Abdelmalek. So what would be my tips for somebody who's just starting to learn a language? First, foreign languages. Greetings from Chile. Greetings to you too from Skopje. The first thing would be to set up a routine. Make sure you have some really serious goals. Know what you want to do and what you want to achieve with the language. Because if you don't have that clear in your head, I think it becomes quite difficult to learn a language and to remain motivated through the process. So I typically will take a book and say, okay, this week and next week I'm going to learn this chapter, and then try and use those chapters with a teacher and speak and use the language, and then talk about what happened in the book, in the dialogues, and then maybe talk about how that kind of topic refers to my life, and how use the vocabulary in an active way, maybe bringing in other vocabulary that's more pertinent to what I need to say. But learning things that are important to you, I think, is good, because making it relevant and not going off and learning random words that you're never going to use in the beginning is super important to do. Concentrate on what you need. So, ti piacciono i videogiochi? Ok. Ok, non i gameplay. Videogiochi per me, io non ho molto tempo per giocare, io devo dire, perché col lavoro e anche con la famiglia è abbastanza difficile per me, ma sì. Esperanto, I'm going to answer that in English because it's in English. What do I think about Esperanto? It was a fun thing for me to learn. I enjoyed it. I don't get to use it very often. There are no Esperanto groups here in Skopje. I think there are in another city in the Republic, but not here in Skopje where I live. And so it's not a language I get to use very often. I will get to use it, no doubt, at the gathering in Bratislava this weekend, and I will get to use it again in Canada at the Langfest in Montreal, which I'm going to be at in August, and then I'll also get to use it again at the Polyglot Conference, which is obviously my baby, at the end of October, because we get a lot of people who speak Esperanto coming to those events, and it's always fun to use it, and I enjoy doing that. I see it as any other language that's fun to speak and practice. So here we go. Senin kadar iyi Türkçe konuşmayla Türkçe tanıyorum. Oh, çok teşekkür ederim. That's really nice to hear. Thank you that you think my Turkish is good. Može malo na srpskom. Ok, na srpskom ili na hrvatskom da pričam. Nema problema, ali ne znam šta da radim sada. Za mene to je bilo no, ovdje u Skuplju imamo srpski i hrvatski svugde. Na radiju imamo pesnje i sve na srpskom i na hrvatskom. Zato nije bilo za mene teško da pričam i da razumim. Sam bio mnogo puta u Srbiji i u Hrvatskoj i, no, sam radio i u ambasadi, u britanskoj ambasadi u Bosne i sada za mene ne znam, ne znam šta da pričam, ali dobro, to je i normalan jezik ovdje, to nije, no, sviđa mi se da gledati stvari ko lud zbunjen normalan na naškom i za mene razumijem vrlo dobro i no, shvatiti i no, komediju nije problem. Također, mislim, že na, per me šta nije uopšte problem. Ok, по араб. Yes, да, говорю тоже чуть-чуть, но я понимаю лучше. Я думаю, что говорить активно сейчас очень трудно для меня, потому что у меня нет возможности говорить по-арабски. Я изучал чуть-чуть в университете в Голландии и тоже онлайн, и поэтому говорю чуть-чуть. Но говорить я бы сказал нет сейчас. Muchas gracias, Aníbal. Me gusta leer cosas así sobre mi español porque es un idioma que me gusta mucho. Yeah, ok. So, ¿qué idioma ha sido el más difícil aprender? Súper difícil de responder esta pregunta porque sí que hay muchísimos idiomas que he estudiado en mi vida, pero yo diría que lo que es difícil de verdad es un idioma que cuando no tengas la posibilidad para practicar, para hablar, eso sí que es la cosa más difícil. Es que creo que cada idioma sí que puede ser fácil. Lo que pasa es que si no tienes el porqué y la motivación para hablar y las posibilidades para practicarlo, pues que así resulta más difícil, ¿no? Así que un poco difícil. Diría de... No sé, hay idiomas más fáciles, pero más difíciles. El japonés sí que es súper difícil leer y escribir bien. El chino mandarín también. Pero aparte de esto, no sé. A ver, ¿qué tenemos? Otra vez. A ver, ¿cuántos años tiene tu hija? Pues mi hija tiene 9 años ahora. Va a cumplir 10 dentro de un mes, así que pequeñita. Pero sí que sigue hablando sus idiomas y aprendiendo más también. Es que entiende el italiano porque tenemos una familia aquí de amigos, así que no saben hablar macedonia, ni inglés, ni nada, así que tenemos que hablar italiano. Y empecé a hablar con ella un poco en italiano para que entendiera un poco el idioma. Así que funciona bastante bien, la verdad. Ok. Simcott, what topic do you usually listen? Okay. Oh, that's a good question. So strangely enough, I actually quite like listening to debates spirituality, and I like listening to things about philosophy because that's subjects that I didn't really know much about. I also like science a lot, and so I like to hear about people that know more about things than me. And so that's a lot of subjects because there are so many people that know a lot more things than I do, and so anyone with a passion that likes to speak and share their knowledge, I'm very very happy to listen to, and I've even got an American friend, and I'm not much of a type for sports, but he could speak about almost any subject, and I think I'd find it interesting. He even made a marathon sound interesting to me, and I was never that really drawn to them naturally. But yeah, I listen to things that I'm not normally knowledgeable about. History as well. I like history. I like a lot of subjects. Um, I think it's always the way, isn't it? The thing that you don't know much about can often be most attractive to listen to and to find out about. Um, can I speak Vietnamese? Unfortunately, not. I wish I did, but all I know is "come on," which is "thank you," isn't it? And I remember it because it sounds like come on," and so that's all I know, unfortunately. But I wish I one day maybe. Who knows? Have I ever started learning Asian languages? I remember you mentioned that you were learning. Yeah, I kind of did. So I did Chinese for a year and a half at university in Sweden. Um, didn't get to use it very often. I do speak a little bit of Thai. Well, I did as a child, and it's very rusty now. But I used it when I went to Thailand over Christmas and New Year, and it was a lot of fun. But other than that, I've studied some Japanese. Way back when, but more to get an overview of the language, not to actively speak it really per se. But yeah, they're a lot of fun. Ava language, I have contacts for this relatively rare language, but most common. Oh wow, okay, I've never heard of the Ava language. So really nice to know a little bit about it. Thank you for sharing that, Anastasia. Well, Jesus, what you learned, you speak Romanian and English. Brilliant. They're great languages. Romanian's a lot of fun. I was in Romania for the very first time, in fact, just a few weeks ago, and I really enjoyed it. I was in Bucharest for a couple of days. Ok. Ĝi mi scias ke vi ankaŭ parolas Esperanton, ke mi pensas ke ĝi estas tre bona. Dankon. Ankaŭ plaĉas al mi paroli Esperanton. Mi pensas ke ĝi estas tre interesa kaj bela lingvo. Por mi tre ĝojas ke mi havas okazon uzi ĝin en la kongreson, en la kongresoj en la tuta mondo. So speak English, and I'm hoping to study German, Spanish. Chester University. Oh, very good choice to go to Chester. That's my home city. I hope you'll enjoy it. Is learning Latin a good idea? Definitely, if you like Latin, I'd say. If you don't like Latin, no. But why not? I mean, I don't really think that there's any bad language to learn. Even languages that are considered sort of dead languages, or like Latin or ancient Greek or something like that. Why not? I mean, it's a good basis with the case system and things to go on and study others and understand roots and things. I think it's why not go for it. I hope you enjoy Chester University in the city of Chester. It's really beautiful. Even if I am from it, I know I'm a little bit biased, but it is very nice. Do I know Romanian? Puțin românește vorbesc, pentru că am vorbit românește dum am lucrat la Chișinău, în Moldova. Acum nu am prieteni din România la Skopje. Aceasta este o problemă pentru mine. Vorbesc și nu am timp să învăț limba română acasă. Nu știu. Știți că vorbesc românește? So, Ellie Richard, I'm very late. Good to see you. How would you suggest developing speaking and listening by oneself? I think that Lucas says this as well, and I'm definitely in with sort of Lucas' sort of philosophy on this, with speaking to yourself. If you've got no one to speak to yourself. It's a lot of fun, and I think looking for people online, which I think I mentioned earlier, which you may have missed, Patrick. I think finding partners, finding teachers. In fact, I mean, personally, for my own situation, I just find time constraints being what they are, language partners are quite difficult for me to manage sometimes because I don't always have that additional time. So I find just having a tutor or a teacher on italki quite easy for me to maintain that sort of language and actually get corrections without knowing that I'm paying some money to so I don't have to necessarily spend the time doing the same back. But I seek out every opportunity to speak languages in my day-to-day life, and I think finding groups, using any opportunity you get to use them is just the best way. Even if it's passive listening and learning and talking at your TV, talking at the computer when you're watching a series or TV in a language and asking people questions, even if you don't get an answer, it's quite fun to do. Just pause it and just say, okay, how would I formulate a question based on what I've just heard to get more information or to ask that information? That's the kind of thing I do, I guess. Okay, Claudine, thank you very much. That's very kind of you. Yeah, thank you very much. I don't understand all of the Vietnamese, but I really appreciate your wishes. Uh, Driver Evil, thank you. That's very kind. Do I know any Ukrainian? No, it's weird because okay, I made a promise to myself years ago when I started with the Slavic languages that I would never learn Slovak and I would never learn Ukrainian. Here I am learning Slovak because of the gathering in Bratislava. Who knows if I'd ever learn Ukrainian? I do understand. Yeah, it's a beautiful language. Well, I don't. So speaking, understanding it isn't so bad, generally speaking. And when I was in the Ukraine, I when I was in Ukraine, I did understand a lot of people speaking to me in Ukrainian. Um, I could answer in Russian, and it worked. I was in Kiev at the time. It was a long, long time ago now. Um, but yeah, I mean, maybe one day, who knows? Now that I've started tackling Slovak, why not Ukrainian now? Maybe I can lift that ban because I feel like I'm able to keep the languages fairly separate. But in the beginning with the Slavic languages, it was really confusing, which is why I didn't, and I made that rule. Um, ok, me gustaría saber qué piensas del método basado exclusivamente en el input. ¿Crees que se puede llegar a un nivel alto solamente leyendo y escuchando un montón? Para mí no, pero para otra persona a lo mejor sí. Es que para cada persona su cosa, ¿no? Y creo que es importante saber qué funciona para ti. Y para mí no funciona así. Tengo que hablar un montón. Tengo que pensar y utilizar el idioma activamente para llegar hasta un punto así bien alto en el idioma. Así que, pero sí que hay gente, Steve Kaufman creo que utiliza un método así similar y dice que funciona bien para él. Así que no puedo decir que no, porque claro que hay personas que dicen que sí. Ah, pero sí, hay que intentarlo y luego ver. Y eso nada más. Snakker du norsk? Jeg snakker litt norsk. Jeg har lært norsk at jeg reiste til Norge, og det var ganske bra. Jeg snakker aldri norsk her i Makedonia. Det er vanskelig å snakke norsk her, men jeg har lært norsk. Jag förstår det bra. Jag tror det är inget problem för mig att snacka norsk. Jag förstår det. Okay. Study French at Chester Uni. Wow, lots of people studying in Chester. Good on you all. So that's really cool to see. We'll have to have a meetup in Chester if you're if you're around next time I'm back. We'll see if we can have a meetup maybe when your term starts, and we can go out for a coffee or something in Chester. Pregunta difícil. Uy, qué bien. ¿Cuál es tu lengua preferida? Ok. Lengua preferida para mí, para hablar. Espera. Pregunta difícil. I'm answering in Spanish and it's in Portuguese, I'm sorry. A língua preferida para mim, eu acho que para falar islandês, mas eu não falo muito bem agora mesmo. E por isso eu diria que uma língua com. Não sei, é bem difícil dizer. O galês também, eu gosto muito disso porque é a língua da minha família, então por isso é importante. E diria que para escrever, o georgiano, gosto muito da escritura georgiana. Ah, isso. Ah, okay. Did you use Duolingo and what did you think about it? Kind of have and haven't. I have a love-hate relationship with Duolingo. It drives me insane with the um, some of the sentences because there's only so many times I'm ever going to be able to talk about an owl. But it is a lot of fun. I get the gamification in it, and I get that and if it works for people, great. Sometimes I just find it a little bit stifling with some of the weird constructions that they have. Um, but otherwise, I mean, I've been through a whole course of it just to see what it's like and how it works to the end. And I play with it every now and again. Okay. Hello, Richard. Please respond me instantly. Languages have saved humanity and world in the near future. Possibly. Who knows? You need languages to communicate, and if you want to be able to save the world, you have to communicate, I guess. So languages are definitely necessary for that. Okay. Wie alt warst du, als du gemerkt hast, dass du eine Begabung, um Fremdsprachen zu lernen hast? Ich würde nie sagen, dass ich eine so Begabung, ich bin gar nicht begabt. Ich meine, ich liebe Sprachen halt. Und ja, für mich war es immer so, ich habe immer so ja, das Gefühl, ich wollte immer Sprachen sprechen. Und ich denke, das ist mehr so eine Motivation. Und deshalb ist es mir vielleicht viel einfacher, weil ich den ganzen Tag nur Sprachen im Kopf habe. Aber dass ich eigentlich begabt bin, ja, würde ich nicht so sagen. Ich meine, ja, es ist mehr so Interesse. Also, aber wirklich, ich meine, wenn ich sage Interesse, ich meine eigentlich sehr, also starke Interesse, gell? Ok, thank you, concordo totalmente. Ok, o chinês para ler, que você para aprender. A próxima linguagem para aprender. Agora o indonésio, estou a aprender agora. Estou aprendendo para uma visita ali com a minha família. Então eu quero falar de turista, mas também para ter conversações com a gente. Então, se isso, indonésio. Também tem o Lenca. Lenca é uma língua que é falada em Honduras, mas é uma língua que era morta. Agora estamos a fazer uma reconstrução da língua com o linguista Alan King, que escreveu os livros de Basco, muito conhecido por eles, e também um, faz muitas coisas com línguas que estou a falar, agora com o sotaque mais português, eu sei, desculpe. Então, com ele e também outras línguas que estou a falar. O islandês, mas isso não é uma língua nova para mim. É uma língua nova. Isso é uma língua já aprendi na universidade e também na Islândia. I worked on things yet, so I was able to at least recognize it. Let's say, okay. Are there any jobs in it as far as you can get? Okay, jobs in recognizing languages. It's tough. I don't know if there are jobs in just recognizing languages, but definitely if you're into just languages generally, linguistics might be an interesting field to get into. Because you touch on a lot of different things about language generally, and it's a science of language. Not something that I particularly studied myself, so I would never describe myself as a linguist. But yeah, it's certainly a lot of fun, I guess. Um, Okay, we're getting close to the hour, so I'll carry on a little bit beyond because of the technical problems. Have I met many Romany speakers in Macedonia? Yeah, lots. And when I meet them, I try and say something in the Romany language. I love it, and I want to learn it better. I'd love to be able to speak it well. Um, they are very, very surprised and very happy when I say something in the Romany language, and um, I really like it, and it just gives me more motivation to learn more and more. Um, ok. Oh, si pudieras volver al pasado cuando comenzabas a aprender idiomas, ¿qué errores evitarás? Uy, eso sí que es difícil, difícil. No sé, es que yo tengo que decir que para mí el dicho más vale una vez rojo que 100 amarillo. Y eso sí que para mí, cometer un fallo una vez y aprender el fallo, sí que es más importante que no saber y hesitar, no decir las cosas 100 veces así sin saber 100% si está bien o no. Y así que para mí siempre estudiaba así, siempre aprendía así. Así que no he cometido fallos así, errores en el aprendizaje de mis idiomas, creo. Creo que podría ser leer un poco más en más idiomas, puede ser, pero no, no diría que no. No hay cosas ahí, no, para mí no, no tengo, no tengo, no, para mí sí, no, no, continuaré así como estoy haciendo ahora. Um, okay, has become very good at recognition. That's very cool that you can recognize languages. I think it's a lot of fun. Um, how long did you go about learning Finnish? Did you get to a high level in Finnish? Patrick, it was kind of a 3 month thing. It was a month outside Finland and then 2 months in Finland that I did Finnish for. I wouldn't say that I got to a high level. I'd say that I got to about an A2 level in Finnish, roughly, maybe a little bit, yeah, around that. So I could get around in Finland and speak to people and communicate about what I wanted, what I was doing, and possibly for some people they mistake a true A2 level as something higher than it is. Certainly got comments like that when I was in Finland. They thought I could do more than I could, um, but I would say yeah, roughly around that, and it was a lot of fun to do. Um, yeah, Hugo, I like the Romanian language too. It's a lot of fun. Um, okay, so the next question. Confirm yes, Google Translation has become good at language recognition, but there are some languages not listed. Google Translate, like three of my favorite. Yeah, I mean for sure, you could probably get involved in something like that. Maybe it's worth reaching out to people like the people at Google to see about adding things like other languages or helping with algorithms. I don't know, but potentially there are. Or even university studies, I'd say would be interesting. Uh, okay. О, окей, so Богдан, скажи, Ричард, как ты думаешь, а, а, как ты думаешь ли языки смогут спасать мир окей, в ближайшее будущее? Эм, Ну, я думаю, что я сказал по-английски. Возможно, но это для коммуникации это очень, очень важно. Но как это будет возможно, я не знаю. К сожалению, но возможно, да. Конечно, мы говорим по разных языках, и поэтому я думаю, что но без языка это невозможно. What a coincidence if we met and we could talk about languages. Okay, we speaking to Curtis. Okay, hyvää huomenta. Minä puhun suomea kieltä, suomen kieltä. I may be using the wrong grammar. Suomen kieltä. No, I actually think that's right, what you've written there, Anastasia. Luulen, että hyvä. Kiitos. Kiitos paljon. Okay. Do you know Romanian? You've asked me that, I think. I've answered in Romanian. I think I know some Romanian, yes, because I lived in Chisinau and worked there, so I had to speak some Romanian for that part of my life. I just don't use it very much here now at all. Problem for finding language partners is finding someone who wants to learn my native language. Yeah, that is a problem. Depends on your native language. I think that for some people it's easier than for others, and certainly I understand that. I think if it's possible to be able to find someone to teach you for it, if you're able to pay, that's often a good way around it. If you can't do those kinds of exchanges, or you can offer help in other things potentially. Um, Depends what other skills or other services you can maybe exchange for. May not want to learn your language, but they might want to learn something else you can do. Um, you never know. Sometimes people just want to teach the language as well. They just enjoy it, or they like to practice. Another thing you could do is depending on the language. I don't know which language you want to speak, Patrick, or practice, but getting in touch with people who, if you live in a country in particular, visiting people in hospital, visiting people in in old age people's homes and things like that, to speak would be quite a nice use of your time, and to practice the language, but also to give something to people, if that's an option. I don't know. But severos romana eu sunt abonat la tine, bravo. Mulțumesc foarte mult. Okay, so in case you want to learn some Indonesian, from Vietnamese, feel free to contact me. Thank you very much. I would love to. I hope I get to go to Vietnam in the future. It's on my travel list, and before I go, I definitely want to learn some Vietnamese before I make any trips there. I would. No, I know I hate going to countries and not speaking any of the language. Shock horror, hey. um, Thank you for your helpful words earlier, Richard. I got an unconditional offer from Chester University. Fantastic. That's a really good thing. Congratulations, David, for getting the unconditional offer to Chester University. Start thinking in a language. How do we do that? Well, I'd say you have to do it consciously in the beginning. So you have to really think, okay, what do I want to say? Can I say it in the language? And doing it that way. There's no real cheat, unfortunately, but it takes time. It's a lot of fun, but it takes time. Ještě jsou slovenštinou. Děkuju. Děkujem. Okay. 100% ready for the meetup. I'm currently in Paris. I'm from Mayor Abroad. I'll be back in October. Great. Then let's see if we can get in touch with me via Facebook. That's the best way. Unfortunately, I get so many messages on these YouTube channels that I find it quite difficult to keep up with all the messages. But if you contact me on Facebook, it's easier. Okay. J'apprécie énormément chaque conseil que le professeur Goles, Lucas et toi nous offrez. Conseil de commencer par des langues anciennes pour une meilleure compréhension. Je ne sais pas, moi j'ai pas fait ça en fait, donc ce serait difficile pour moi de dire que oui. Mais je crois que Luca et Alexander Goles, ils ont fait ça en fait, avec les langues anciennes. Et je crois que oui, ça aide bien avec l'apprentissage des langues modernes. Mais pour moi, je dirais, pour moi, c'était pas si important que ça, quoi. Euh, J'arrive à lire des trucs en latin maintenant parce que, à force d'avoir appris presque toutes les langues du latin, ça sert à quelque chose aussi, hein. Mais à mon avis, oui, si tu as envie de lire, si tu as envie de mieux comprendre les racines des langues modernes, oui, ça aide beaucoup. Donc pourquoi pas. Ok. Cum poți să înveți așa de multe limbi cu timpul? Cu timpul. Cu timpul pentru mine este lucrez cu limbile și am posibilitatea să vorbesc aici la Skopje cu prietenii pa, din ale lumii și pentru mine este pasie. Pentrolemba. That's it really. So input, no special tricks. Do you know what? I think that okay, special tricks. There's no magic pill you can take. If that's what you're after, there's no magic pill. It's you have to study. But there are certainly things that you need to take account of when you're learning languages, and I think often they're the most basic things that people lose focus of very quickly. And yeah, I think that's the thing. There are many techniques. Finding the ones that work for you is important. So there's no point using an input only method if that doesn't work for you, if you like to speak, because it will only frustrate you. There's no point, um, following Luca's method of doing translations if you hate translation. Doesn't personally work for me. Luca knows that. I know that. So I don't do that. But that doesn't mean to say that Luca's method doesn't work perfectly well. Of course it does, because Luca uses it and he's very good at the languages he speaks. Same for Steve Kaufman. He uses the silent period, something that I don't do, and the guy speaks languages. What can I say? So certainly I would, yeah. Okay, let me see. Are there any questions? And then we'll close in about a couple of minutes. So, what do I think about the Michel Thomas method? I think it's an ingenious method, Machi. I think that I had the pleasure of experiencing it live and speaking to the people who work with the method, because they sponsored the Polyglot conference in Thessaloniki last year, and it was a lot of fun watching the results of that. In fact, if you go to the Polyglot Conference channel, you can see the video of the Michel Thomas method and how it worked with two of our guinea pigs who won a competition to take part. It was a lot of fun to do, and I think there's a lot of currency in that method. I've certainly been through it myself, and I found it does give you quite a lot of confidence to start speaking and to then sort of build from it as kind of a skeleton of the language. Yeah, again, if it works for you, great. Some people might not gel with it, but I certainly found it quite fun. So can I speak Korean? Unfortunately not. Hey young man, I don't speak Korean, unfortunately. Hopefully one day, just a couple of words at the moment. Studying at the moment, yeah, I'm actively studying Indonesian and Slovak. Okay, and might mean something else in another language than English. Okay, maybe it does, Anastasia. I don't know. Potentially, I can't think at the moment. My brain's focused on all of these questions that I'm trying to get through. I think when you're back in your home country, do you hear that you are? Do they hear that you're? No, not really, Dick. I think that I switch back into the way we speak at home quite quickly, and I think also I went back to the UK several times, and so no, I don't think people. I definitely don't have the accent I started out with as a child, that's for sure. But no. Qu'est-ce que je pense du Brexit? Oh, ouais, en fait, avec des questions politiques, je ne veux pas trop commenter ici parce que c'est trop long en fait ce qu'il faut dire sur le Brexit. Mais moi je suis très européen. Qu'est-ce que je peux dire? uh, okay, let me see. Do you have any recommendations for finding music in foreign languages? Do you know what? Actually, one of the best things is finding native speakers and asking them what people listen to. Finding radio stations and trying to listen for music that way. Maybe using your mobile phone to identify the tune that you like. That's a cool way of doing it. So yeah, that's kind of what I do. I got a good recommendation for Slovak music from a group where some Slovaks were taking part, and that really helped. Türkçe için daha geçmek için de ne yapıyorsun? Ben her zaman burada Üsküp'te Türkçe konuşuyorum ve bu yüzden Podcast dinliyorum. Hayır, hiçbir podcast dinliyorum ama sadece burada program televizyonda vardı var burada ama çok az zaman var ve bu yüzden hiç yapmıyorum ama hiç yapamam gerçekten ama her zaman burada Üsküp'te her zaman Türkler var ve bu yüzden hiçbir problem yok. Ehm, quando vuoi fare altro chat, mi piacerebbe fare ancora una volta, perché no? Se veramente vi è piaciuto, perché non farlo ancora una volta? Mi piacerebbe anche a me. Sì, è stato un piacere veramente. Ok. Спасибо большое. Thank you very much. Okay. Let's see. Oh, Avilkailgig Agat. No, Nilgailgig Agam. Unfortunately, I don't speak Irish, but I do understand bits and bobs. But no, I don't. Euh, ok. Hugo, tu vas prendre avec moi. On va voir, je lui fais une vidéo en indonésien après. I'd love to learn Irish, though, by the way. Obviously, I've got a connection with Celtic languages, being part Welsh and speaking it as well. How do I break up my day for language study? I don't feel that I really do. I just study a lot all the time. So whenever I've got chance to speak or learn or listen, I don't have a strict schedule. I just fit it in. Have you ever thought of learning Greek? I speak Greek, Friday. I go there quite often, so I have to speak it, and I love it. I love Greek. I don't speak it completely perfectly, but I can definitely get by in Greek. Um, okay, Greek in high school. Fantastic. Okay. I'm going to just skip to the last couple of questions and then I'm going to disappear off. Unfortunately, my time is up. Um, there are no hard and fast methods, Zuzka. I think for learning a new language, for me personally, depending on the language, it would really uh, be, for example, language like Slovak. I simply read through a book like it's a novel because I've already studied a lot of languages that are similar, and then I just try and use it when I get the opportunity. Like just now, embarrassing myself terribly with my awful Slovak and murdering your languages before your very eyes. But seriously, for a language like that, then I would just read a book and then get through. With a more difficult or different language than the languages I already speak, then I would try and be more methodical and go through with some very concrete goals. Not just looking for differences, but actually trying to memorize all of the new words and being able to express things that are important to me at the various stages of the learning process. So, thank you. Posso falar valenciano, però català sì. Vaig aprendre català en la ciutat Carolina de Praga. Doncs, per això també parlar amb els valencians no tinc problemes, però parlar valencià no. Okay. And unfortunately, I've got to the end of my time and I have a work meeting, which is why I do need to say bye for now. But thank you all so, so much for coming, for watching me, for taking time out of your days, for supporting me, for your kind words, for all of your questions, and for your encouragement. And I will definitely look at doing this again if that's what you would like to see. Thank you so, so much. And yeah, all the best until next time.